Hi, everyone. Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Hope everyone is enjoying the nice weather outside. We're excited to have LTU Director Liz Elliot back in the studio. Again, we hang out with her once a month, and usually it's at the end of the month. Last month, though, it was at the beginning of the month. So since we've hung out last, we were just talking about this. You guys have been busy. A lot happening over the last 6 weeks.
There's a lot going on across the entire department, and unfortunately, you guys keep telling us there's more snow coming, but hopefully that's over, and we can look forward to spring.
Yep. Meteorological spring is on Saturday, March 1st. I think her average high now is up to like 45. Meteorologist Carmelo Latuca I was just in the weather center. He said thinks we're going to be 10th all time for the number of 60-degree days in February. So for as bad as it was last week,
I will take it. Those are the records I like to break.
yes, very much so. I'm assuming everything. I didn't see anything or hear anything. Snow removal all last week. Sounds like it all went pretty well.
It went well, and it's always a good opportunity to just reassess and make sure that all of our equipment's used the most efficiently and that we're utilizing all our resources. So I think overall it went well.
That's good. That is good. So one of the things that's kept you busy is the Lincoln on the Move quarter-cent sales tax. That is ending this September.
It is.
But we've gotten it through the city council now to be put on a ballot that we're going to vote on April 8th, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. So April 8th, Lincoln on the Move, quarter-cent sales tax will be back before our community, and they will have an opportunity to tell us how they think the last 6 years have gone and if the additional funding into our streets if they're seeing the benefits and it's worth it.
And so will it just be the April vote and that's it? It's not going to go to a November general?
That's correct. It's only April 8th is the one time that you'll see it on there, and if the community feels that they are seeing the benefits that we've seen the last 6 years with Lincoln on the Move, hopefully we'll see it again for another 8 years. Okay.
All right. And so we're going to get into, basically, with all this that's been going on, you guys have been peppered with questions, and we're going to kind of go through the list of the most frequently asked questions that you guys have had. And number one on the list, if we get this right here, is what is the quarter-cent sales tax for the Lincoln on the Move is?
Yeah, just in 2018, a coalition of Lincoln residents, along with community leaders and business leaders, identified a $33 million annual gap in our street funding. So looking at what our existing needs were versus what it took to fund them. And so a year later, the community helped bridge that gap by voting in favor of a quarter-cent sales tax investment to add to our street investments. That has been the last 6 years. It ends, as you said, September 30th. This year, 2025, and we are asking the voters for their opinion. Is this working? Do they want to see it continue?
And basically, with what is being voted on, there's no changes. It's the exact same thing, but just for an 8-year period as opposed to a 6-year period.
Exactly. The rules and restrictions on it are exactly the same. It is a little bit longer. The 6 years was so successful, we think 8 years will get even more benefit across our entire city. But Lincoln on the Move really has been a game changer. And what I want to just really make sure for everyone knows that this is 100% in your streets. No sidewalks. It does not go to trails. It does not go to traffic signals. It really is curb to curb. The pavement, concrete, asphalt, whatever's there, that is what Lincoln on the Move quarter-cent sales tax goes to.
So you just jumped ahead to question number 4 on the
sorry.
list. Does the funding only go to streets or does it pay for other things like sidewalks? And you can see here on the screen what those restrictions are for this funding. Right.
And we have an advisory committee made up of all community residents, making sure that we are complying with the rules of the Lincoln on the Move quarter-cent sales tax to a T. So they double check every month. We meet with them. We show them all of the work we've been doing. We run every future project by them to make sure this is investing the money wisely. And they make sure that it is only going curb to curb.
Because I'm assuming, and you correct me if I'm wrong here, the regular bucket of money you guys have, it can go to not only anything, but I'm assuming the city might come in and be like, hey, actually, maybe we need some of those dollars and move things around a little bit.
So that's the one interesting thing about street funding is almost every type of funding that we have for our streets has some sort of rule and restriction. So
Okay.
highway allocation funds, gas tax is what we all know them as. The state puts regulations on them. So it can only be for streets and their appurtenances, street lights, crosswalks, those types of things. Wheel tax, when that was voted on by voters and it's in the city code, that also has very strict restrictions. It can only be used on streets. Some of it can only be used on residential streets. So unlike most funding the city has, our street funding is very regulated and
Very specific.
Very specific.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. So we're going to jump back to question number 2, and we've already kind of touched on it here, but how does the Lincoln on the Move funding help Lincoln?
Lincoln on the Move has been a game changer for our community. It has touched every corner of the city, whether it's the Fletcher Avenue project or North 48th. We've been able to invest over the 6-year period. It'll be over $100 million additional into our streets. And under the rules of Lincoln on the Move, it has to be spent equally in all 4 quadrants. So when it's over, around $20 million will be in each quadrant, and then we'll also have 25% that goes to growth, new streets.
Yeah. Lincoln's always growing. So again, that means new streets, new utilities. I don't even want to open that can of worms as to what you guys have to do to kind of keep Lincoln growing on the edges there.
It is. It's exciting that Lincoln does continue to grow, but that does mean more infrastructure, more streets, and Lincoln on the Move has been very helpful in helping with us.
And so one of the questions that everyone has, is this going to raise my taxes? Fair question, but is it going to raise my taxes?
It is definitely a fair question, and glad that we're talking about it today. It will not raise taxes. Lincoln on the Move does not raise taxes. And as we talked about, it has the same restrictions and regulations. Nothing will change. If community votes for it on October 1st, they won't see a difference.
No difference at all. And again, it's a quarter cent. You don't really see it all that much day to day. You see it if you look at the collection of it over the course of a year, but day to day, again, you don't really see it. We already did question number 4. 5 is kind of a little bit of a 2-parter here. Is the Lincoln on the Move quarter cent sales tax supplementing other street funds or adding additional funds to the current street program? And again, a lot of people say, I already pay for wheel tax for the streets. Why do we need a sales tax too?
Lincoln on the Move quarter cent sales tax is additional funds. It is not replacing or supplanting or shifting money away from streets. This is additional funding into the street program. And wheel tax is about 25% of our street funding, where Lincoln on the Move is about 20%. So they're really close to about the same amount of money. So if we chose a different alternative like wheel tax, we would have to double wheel tax. And one thing with sales tax is visitors contribute. So those who are driving into work every day from outside town, those who are coming in for state basketball, those types of things, they're adding wear and tear to our streets. And by implementing a sales tax, they pay 30% of that.
I think we've talked in the past just about the number of projects that you guys do. Normal street funding, you'd be able to do 5, just picking a number. But with the Lincoln on the Move, you're able to do 10 in a given year.
Right. We've been averaging right about 11 projects a year with Lincoln on the Move. Without Lincoln on the Move, we're looking at 2 to 3 projects a year. And that's why Lincoln on the Move really has been a game changer and a huge value to our entire community.
And you just mentioned it, but next question here, but who's contributing to the sales tax? But it's not only us, but like you said, it's everyone coming into town.
It's everyone coming into town, 30%. So if we don't continue Lincoln on the Move, the visitors pay nothing. It is just Lincoln residents who are paying for our streets. And even though they're not the only ones that are contributing to wear and tear. So with the sales tax, the visitors, everyone helps invest in our streets.
Game days during football season, like you said, state basketball coming up here. I think state swimming and diving is this weekend. So
it is, or just people coming in on the weekend to go shopping, or coming here for other high school athletic events, those types of things. It's visitors not only from across the state, but coming in from out of state. They are helping to invest in our streets.
There you go. Kind of spread it around a little bit more. It does also impact public safety as well. Again, firefighters, police got to get around. They need to get around on a good road.
Public safety is so important, and if you can imagine, you and I have driven around some potholes across town. There's no doubt about that.
Pothole season.
It is, unfortunately, the joys of living in the Midwest. But if you are waiting on an ambulance or a fire truck and they're trying to slow down or navigate around potholes, that eats up precious seconds. And so Lincoln on the Move, the 165 lane miles we've been able to make smooth and safe, makes sure that our public safety teams can get to homes much faster and their response times are faster.
Yeah, seconds matter. In those situations. So an example, again, we mentioned the quarter cent of it all. But if I were to go out and get my favorite cup of coffee and maybe a donut or scone,
right?
I think there's a scone event this week. Scone Saturday, I think, is happening this weekend. How much is that going to cost me?
Well, to go out and get your scone and a cup of coffee for $4, it's 1 penny. And that 1 penny over the last 6 years is bringing in nearly $102 million, which allows us to do 65 projects in the last 6 years.
Okay. So $4 is 1 penny. So if we say $40, that's 10 cents.
You are making a huge difference even with that quarter cent.
I mean, just think about all the dimes and pennies you have in the middle of your car.
Right. I know. Or on the floor of your car if you're like mine.
Yeah. So does this initiative spread out funding? You mentioned it, but the quadrants. Can you talk about the quadrants of Lincoln?
Yes. One of the restrictions of the quarter cent sales tax is that they be spent equally in all 4 quadrants. And so that's what we've been doing the last 5 years, and the last year here into this is almost a $20 million in every quadrant. Whether you're in the northwest or southeast, that money is being invested where you live.
And so about 20 million, but then you were saying the extra 20% kind of just gets where it needs to go, just wherever corner that might be?
It does. About 25% is invested into growth projects.
Oh, that's
so
right.
Those kind of on the edges of town where the city continues to grow and expand. And those are streets that have been brought in from the county, so they're narrower or they're gravel in some cases. That's the 25% to growth.
Okay. And I'm assuming we're probably basically growing in almost all directions?
We are growing in all directions, in particular, probably more to the southeast and southwest.
Okay.
But a little bit of each direction.
Okay. All right. And so what's gonna happen if it comes to April and this vote goes the way of getting rid of it, the quarter cent sales tax?
If the quarter cent sales tax does not pass, we will lose $18 million annually. And if you think the potholes are bad now, wait. We will have to wait longer for projects. Like we talked about earlier, we're able with Lincoln on the Move to do 11 projects a year on average. We're doing 2, maybe 3 at best on those years. So projects will slow down. That street that you drive to work every day will become more pothole riddled and bumpier every day as you drive. Because
when you fill potholes, that's just a temporary fix.
Potholes are temporary fix. The best way to prevent potholes is to have a smooth surface that has no cracks where the water can get in there and then freeze and expand and pop open for a pothole. So the smoother and that the streets are without cracks, the less of an impact the freezing and thaw cycles have on our streets.
Because I believe the number is 50,000 on average potholes that you guys are filling every year.
I'm glad you brought that up, because since Lincoln on the Move, since 2021, so when Lincoln on the Move projects started really kicking in gear, we've gone from 51,000 potholes on average a year to 30,000 potholes on average a year. So the 165 new lane miles are making a difference and reducing our potholes each year.
There you go. That is a good. I did not know that. I was just earlier this week typing up a story, and I was using your guys' website, and I had that number. So that is good to see. So where can people find more information? Again, the vote is on April 8th. Again, we're talking about it here, but if people want to dive in and maybe do some reading of their own.
We encourage them to check out the website, LincolnOnTheMove.com. All of the annual reports and information about the ballot measure are on the website, and we encourage people to get out and vote on April 8th.
Yeah, because I'm assuming on that website as well, you probably can see projects that you guys have done over the last couple of years and the real difference that it's made.
You can see all the impact that Lincoln on the Move has had across the entire city. You can also see what's ahead for the last year as we embark on construction season.
It is almost the orange cone season. I ran into some over on 56th Street. I think they were putting up a new electrical pole. So that was something else entirely.
Trying to get that done before we hit the 56th Street project.
There you go. All right. Anything else that you want to get mentioned in before we let you go for the month?
Just want to thank the community for their support, and the 165 lane miles we hope gets to grow beyond in October. So thank you very much.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Director Elliot with LTU for coming in. Always appreciate your time. Again, thanks everyone for tuning in and watching. Again, keep it tuned to 1011 both on air and online for all of the latest, including for that vote coming up on April 8th. So hope everyone has a nice Thursday and enjoys the nice weather.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps